What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I'm here today to do a new segment on this channel entitled the Essential Excellence series. This is going to be a video series basically talking about metal albums that I not only deem to be classic and part of the annals of metal history, but albums I consider to be perfect, with little to no flaw. Perfect 10 out of 10, so to speak. Um, of course, when it comes to listening to metal, everybody is going to have their own little opinion or say so about what albums they deem to be perfect. Everyone will always have that kind of mindset, regardless if you feel it's a bad album or a good album. Someone will always consider it to be flawless or perfect. And the albums I'm going to be talking about in this series are albums that I feel to be perfect. And this is just my own personal opinion, my own personal feelings about these records. If you feel the same way, then that's totally cool. If not, then really there's no need to worry about it. You feel how you want to about these records. The first record I'm going to be talking about is the third album from the band Bolt Thrower, entitled War Master. This came out in July of 1991 on Earache Records. This band is one of those UK death metal bands that really has a style that gets so copied, so imitated so much of the time. I mean, a lot of the current crop of death metal bands, hardcore bands, get the riff influence from this band. I mean, as great as I thought the first two Bolt Thrower records were, preferably In Battle There Is No Law and Realms of Chaos, War Master had that certain kind of gleam, that certain kind of catchiness to it. And with this album, it's just all over the place. I mean, once you get past the epicness of the intro onto the main intro song, Unleashed Upon Mankind, you already know the kind of destruction you're going to get with this kind of album. The riffs are just absolutely godly. Amazing guitar riffs, fantastic solo work. It isn't meant to seem overly frenetic or over the top. It's delivered in the way only Bolt Thrower know how to do, and it's delivered with such finesse and such grace. Joe Bench's bass tone is just amazing. She really is a pioneer as far as women in metal is concerned, and the way the bass is delivered on this record sounds absolutely heavy and crushing. The drums are just delivered with just that breakneck speed and mentality, very fast, solid drumming, even when the slower parts come to it. And of course, the great Carl Willits having that gruff, fierce, snarling mentality in his vocals. It's just a fantastic vocal performance. I mean, so many memorable riffs, so many great songs like the intro track, Profane Creation, Final Revelation, Cenotaph. That song just kicks so much ass. This is one of those death metal records that really just, you just want to just get in the pit and have a good time with. This is that kind of death metal record. And if you have never heard of Bolt Thrower or have never gotten into them, there's never it's never too late to get into something as great as Bolt Thrower. They are a great band. I know they are still actively touring. They're still an active band. They really haven't made any new material, and really they don't intend to until they feel it's absolutely perfect. They are that kind of a band. They're perfectionists. They really want to get the work their sound right and correct, and that's what Bolt Thrower know how to do. Great album, great band. Check out War Master. The next album I'm going to be talking about is the sophomore album from the band Pestilence, entitled Consuming Impulse. This came out on Christmas of 1989 on Roadrunner Records. Pestilence is one of those bands that really has had many drastic shifts, changes in sounds throughout the years. They're based out of the Netherlands, by the way. When it came to their first album, Malleus Maleficarum, and if I say that wrong, I apologize in advance, the debut album had somewhat of a thrashy kind of influence. I thought it was a great record, but still, it was one of those debut albums that was great, but yet it left little to the imagination. You wanted more out of it. Now we get to the second album, Consuming Impulse, and this is the album that proved a lot of things to a lot of people, in my view. For one, it proved that Martin van Drunen is just a phenomenal, phenomenal vocalist. I mean, this this is basically him letting everyone know, I'm here to conquer, I'm here to take over, I'm here to present myself to you as a potential force in the death metal scene with my kind of vocal style. Just that withered, haggard, raspy kind of voice, as only Martin van Drunen knows how to deliver it. He delivered great vocals here, and really, he's pretty much made a name for himself nowadays with the bands that he's in, like Hail of Bullets and Asphyx. Just a great vocalist, and he is one of my all-time favorite vocalists. But as for the music, good God, the music is just absolutely killer. The two Patricks, Patrick Millie, who is really the main founding member of this band nowadays, and Patrick Jutrovic. Sorry if I said that wrong. But the way the guitars are handled here are just absolutely crisp. Great, great, memorable riffs. Awesome solo work. Just very, very precise and accurate. I just love the way the guitars sound on songs like Dehydrated and Reduced to Ashes. Hell, even Suspended Animation. Some great, great guitar riffs and leads on those songs. The bass work that Martin van Drunen does here is very solid as well. Very clean and very crisp. And Marco Fotis' drum work is just absolutely top-notch. Very solid speeds. You get your thrashy kind of drum beats to your more traditional death metal style of drumming. It's a really solid drum performance. Great double bass, great thrash beats, a lot of solid drum work. This is the Pestilence that I know and love. I wish I could say the same thing about Pestilence nowadays, but I guess it's just something that I'm not really much into, to be perfectly honest. I'll always be in touch with the first three albums, but mainly Consuming Impulse, excuse me, is the album that will always have a place in my heart. Just an amazing piece of metal and very much ahead of its time for what it was setting out to do back then. Great, great album. And the last album I'm going to be talking about is from the band Voivod. It's their 1987 release entitled Killing Technology. This was released on Noise Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with Voivod, they're based out of Quebec, Canada, and this is a band that really are pioneers of their craft. I mean, Voivod of the 80s just delivered some absolutely amazing, amazing music. I mean, for the thrash part of their career, the first two records, War and Pain and Roar, those albums just really solidified how badass of a thrash band Voivod are. But as the 80s continued, they decided to get more. They wanted to expand their horizons to not only keep the sound that they best know how to keep, but also have more of a progressive tinge to it. And the album in question being Killing Technology. This really was ahead of its time, just for the way the music was, the way the vocals were, the inclusion of just really epic musicianship, songwriting, and lyric writing, the inclusion of the robotic style vocals, really just shows you how out there this band really is. I mean, so many great, great things about this record. I love the way that it sounds. It has a great production value. This is really Voivod at their most great sounding. Every instrument you hear on this record sounds great. Just the way the guitar sounds, Piggy playing the guitar, the way Blackie's bass sounds, very audible and clear, very right on tone with the guitar. The way that Away plays his drums, just that fantastic thrash kind of drumming style. Just classic Voivod drumming at its finest, and Snake just really being the master storyteller, telling you about the way things are in the future, just the way things are in his mindset, just the way he delivers the vocals here are just memorable. Um, I mean, the title track, Forgotten in Space, This Is Not an Extense. It's just great, great, great stuff. And the next two albums after this, preferably Dimension Hatros and Nothing Face, really showed their full-on progression into progressive metal. Still keeping the sound that they have now, but they are obviously more progressive nowadays. But the 80s era of this band is just absolutely fantastic. I love the 80s era of Voivod, and if you're a fan of Voivod, this album really did pave a way for many others to follow. And if you're new to Voivod, feel free to get acquainted with this great music. The 80s era of Voivod is the best in my opinion, and such great, great music, especially with Killing Technology. I'm going to leave some links in the description box for some select songs from this album, from each of the albums, if you want to give them a listen to. Definitely get perfectly acquainted with these records. I love all these albums equally, and hopefully I can keep up with this series and do another one real soon. So these are just some albums that I happen to think are perfect and without little to no flaw. If you've ever heard any of these releases, let me know what you thought of them and what impact they have on you as the listener, as the fan of the band. So thanks for watching, thanks for joining my channel, and until the next time, Army Hell out.